The screen opens with the bustling streets of Lagos on a hot afternoon. The camera pans to a small wooden table beneath a mango tree, where Amara, a 22-year-old girl with dark glowing skin and braided hair tied neatly back, is surrounded by children. She's sketching math problems on a tattered chalkboard, her voice calm but commanding. Though the kids wear torn uniforms, their faces glow with excitement as Amara simplifies complex equations into songs and stories. "Math is not scary," she says, clapping her hands in rhythm as the kids sing multiplication tables like a catchy tune. Her passion isn't about money. She barely earns enough from the 200 Nigerian nairas Note's parents managed to contribute. Instead, she teaches because she remembers being the little girl who had no one to guide her. Education, to Amara, is survival. But despite her passion, society labels her just a slum teacher. Wealthy parents sneer when her name comes up. Even some neighbors whisper, who will marry her if she spends her life teaching for peanuts? At night, Amara stares at the cracked ceiling of her one-room apartment. Her heart beats with both fear and fire. She wants more than this. She wants to prove that knowledge is power, even if society mocks her now. This sets the stage, the underdog teacher with nothing but her voice, her chalk, and a dream. The story takes a sharp turn when one afternoon, after dismissing her class, a sleek black SUV parks near Amara's teaching spot. Out steps Mrs. Oluchi, an elegant woman in her 40s, dressed in fine lace. She introduces herself as the personal assistant to Mr. Desmond Cole, one of the city's wealthiest businessmen. She explains that Mr. Cole's daughter, Zara, has been struggling in school. Private tutors have failed to capture her attention. A neighbor had recommended Amara's name, praising her unique style of teaching. Amara can't believe her ears. To teach the daughter of one of the richest men in Lagos? It feels like destiny. But fear creeps in. She worries about stepping into a world so far above her own. Her best friend, Ngozi, warns her. "Rich people don't see us as humans, Amara. They will use you, mock you, and throw you away." But Amara's spirit whispers something different. What if this is her chance? Not just for money, but for recognition, proof that her methods matter. She accepts, her heart pounding, unaware she is walking into the lion's den. The camera shifts to the Cole mansion, golden gates, marble fountains, and luxury cars lined like ornaments. Amara, in her best thrifted blouse and skirt, steps out of a taxi, clutching her old brown satchel. Inside, she meets Zara, a 10-year-old girl with big curious eyes but a restless mind. Zara admits she hates her tutors because they make her feel dumb. But with Amara, something clicks instantly. Amara brings learning alive with riddles, drawings, and playful examples. For the first time, Zara laughs during a math lesson. Even the maids, peeking from the doorway, whisper, "This one is different." But as Amara teaches, she feels eyes on her, judging, watching. The house itself seems to sneer at her presence. She's an outsider in a palace. Still, she pours her heart into every word, determined to prove that learning is not about wealth, but connection. Halfway through a lively lesson, a deep laugh echoes through the hall. Enter Mr. Desmond Cole, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in an expensive Italian suit, holding a glass of red wine. He pauses, staring at the scene before him, his daughter clapping along to a multiplication rhyme with "a girl wearing cheap shoes." He bursts out laughing. "So this is the miracle worker everyone talks about? A slum girl teaching my daughter math with songs." The staff laughs nervously, following their master's cue. Amara freezes, shame washing over her. But Zara, brave and innocent, frowns and blurts, "Daddy, she explains better than all those tutors you paid for." The father smirks, amused by his daughter's loyalty, but dismisses Amara with a wave of his hand like she's nothing more than a pest. The insult cuts deep, but Amara stays silent, gathering her books. For the first time, doubt overshadows her the next day. Amara returns for another session, determined to ignore the sting. But Desmond interrupts again, this time with guests. He drags Amara into the living room, introducing her mockingly. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet the famous village teacher who sings ABCs to my daughter." The guests laugh. Desmond pulls out a fat wad of cash, waving it at her. "Here, little girl. Take this. Consider it charity. Go do something more useful with your life." Amara's cheeks burn as she clutches her bag. The staff snickers, the guests sip champagne, and Zara looks torn between tears and fury. Amara walks out of the mansion in silence, her dignity shattered. But as she steps into the noisy streets outside, her shame transforms into something else. A spark. A fire. A voice whispers inside her. They think you're small. Show them how big you are. The stage is set for her comeback. The humiliation replays in Amara's head as she walks home that night. Desmond's laughter, the clinking of champagne glasses, the guests' mocking eyes, each one feels like a knife. She collapses on her bed, tears streaming down her face, her satchel still in her arms. But then, a switch flips. She remembers Zara's words. She explains better than all those tutors. That one sentence ignites something inside her. She realizes Desmond's laughter isn't the truth, it's fear. Fear of seeing someone from the slums prove better than the people he paid millions to. Instead of burying herself in shame, Amara picks up her notebook and begins to scribble, "If they won't allow me in their mansions, I'll build a classroom the world can't ignore." Her dream begins to take shape, not just tutoring neighborhood kids under a mango tree, but creating a platform where thousands of children, rich and poor, can learn. She doesn't yet know how, but she knows one thing. Her revenge won't be with anger, it'll be with success. Amara's breakthrough begins with an old borrowed smartphone. One evening, Ngozi convinces her to record a lesson and upload it on YouTube. At first, Amara hesitates. Her voice trembles as she faces the tiny camera. But once she starts teaching, her passion takes over. She explains fractions using slices of bread, makes kids laugh while solving division, and turns word problems into mini-stories. They post it, expecting nothing. But within days, the video racks up comments. "My son finally understands this after watching. This girl explains better than my child's schoolteacher. More videos, please." Amara is stunned. For the first time, strangers validate her teaching beyond her community. She records more, teaching multiplication with songs, grammar with roleplay, and even science with household experiments. Soon, her channel begins to grow. She names it Bright Minds with Amara. The most shocking twist. Zara finds her videos online, secretly subscribing under a fake account. She begins following Amara's lessons late at night, away from her father's watchful eyes. Word spreads like wildfire. Within months, Amara's channel grows beyond her imagination. Parents across the city share her videos. Newspapers run headlines, "Slum Teacher Goes Viral." She's invited for a radio interview where she boldly says, "Education should not be for the rich only. Every child deserves a chance to learn, whether they sit under a chandelier or under a mango tree." Her message resonates. Donations trickle in from NGOs, local churches, and even strangers abroad. Amara invests the little she gets into buying a second-hand laptop and a whiteboard. Meanwhile, Zara becomes obsessed with Amara's teaching. She confronts her father one night. "Daddy, you don't see it, but she's brilliant." Desmond, irritated, forbids her from mentioning Amara again. But inside, he's unsettled. The girl he mocked now has the city praising her. And his daughter, his only child, values her more than him. The tension erupts one evening when Desmond discovers Zara secretly watching Amara's videos on her tablet. He storms into her room, slamming it shut. "Desmond, didn't I tell you to stay away from that girl?" Zara, defiant, "She teaches me better than anyone you've hired. You laugh at her, but she's smarter than all your rich friends." The words cut him deep. For a man whose pride rests on wealth and reputation, being compared unfavorably to a poor teacher is unbearable. The next day, he storms into his office, ranting to his associates. "This girl is poisoning my daughter's mind. I'll show her that money and class rule this world." But what Desmond doesn't realize is that the more he tries to silence Amara, the more her voice grows. Pride blinds him, and the stage is set for their next collision. Amara's rise reaches a new height when she is invited to speak at a citywide education summit. The hall is filled with top educators, politicians, and even business leaders, including, by coincidence, Mr. Desmond himself. She steps onto the stage nervously, her thrifted gown pressed neatly, her satchel slung over her shoulder. The audience waits. Then, with a steady voice, she begins. When I was mocked for teaching under a mango tree, I almost gave up. But I realized something. Education isn't about marble walls or expensive tutors. It's about connection, patience, and love. Her words captivate the crowd. Parents nod, children cheer. She demonstrates a math trick live on stage, and the hall bursts into applause. By the end, she receives a standing ovation. In the corner, Desmond sits frozen, his jaw tight. The same girl he ridiculed now commands respect from the city's elite. Cameras flash, journalists rush forward, and Amara, once mocked as a slum teacher, now shines as a voice of hope. But Desmond is not done. His pride burns hotter than ever. And soon, he'll strike back. The Education Summit Hall buzzes with excitement. Amara has just finished her speech, the applause echoing like thunder. But then a hand rises from the audience. It's Mr. Desmond Cole, his sharp suit glowing under the stage lights, his expression smug. Desmond, excuse me, but I must ask, what qualifies a girl from the slums to lecture us about education? You have no doctorate, no prestigious degree, no wealth to show. What credibility do you truly have? The hall falls silent. Cameras swing toward Amara. She feels her throat tighten, but then she steadies herself. She looks directly at him and answers calmly. Amara, education is not about titles or wealth. It is about impact. If a child learns because of you, you've succeeded. And if wealth were enough, your daughter wouldn't need me. The hall gasps. The tension is electric. Some clap timidly, others exchange shocked glances. Amara doesn't flinch. She knows she has just stood toe-to-toe with a titan, and the cracks in his pride are beginning to show. Just when the moment seems ready to die down, a small but determined voice pierces the silence. It's Zara, standing up from her seat in the audience, her school uniform crisp, her braids neatly tied. All eyes turn to the wealthy man's daughter. Zara, she's the best teacher I've ever had. Daddy, you laughed at her, but I understand with her. I learn because she makes me believe I can. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The cameras zoom in. A wealthy man's own daughter publicly defending the teacher he mocked? It's a cinematic twist. Zara walks forward, standing beside Amara on stage. The sight is powerful, a child choosing truth over her father's pride. Amara holds her hand, her eyes glassy with emotion. Desmond tries to speak, but the audience drowns him out with applause. His face burns red with humiliation. For the first time, the mighty businessman looks small. By the next morning, the entire city is buzzing. Clips of Amara's clapback and Zara's bold testimony flood social media. Headlines explode. Slum teacher shames billionaire in public. Even his own daughter defends her. The teacher who taught a rich man a lesson. Memes of Desmond looking shocked go viral, while Amara's calm reply trends with hashtags like #ImpactOverWealth and #TeachLikeAmara. TV stations replay the confrontation. Amara's subscriber count skyrockets overnight. She is no longer just a local tutor, she is now a symbol of resilience, the voice of the unheard. Meanwhile, Desmond becomes the subject of ridicule. Business rivals mock him, shareholders question his judgment, and everywhere he goes, people whisper. His pride, the very thing he treasures most, is in shambles. But instead of humbling himself, Desmond plots revenge. At a press conference a week later, Desmond makes a bold move. Standing at a podium, cameras flashing, he smirks as he declares, "Desmond, if this so-called teacher believes her methods are superior, let's put them to the test. I'll sponsor an academic competition. My tutors will train the best students money can buy. Let her bring her students, and we'll see whose methods truly work." The announcement shakes the city. Journalists hound Amara for a response. Many expect her to decline. After all, how could children from slums compete with those trained by elite tutors? But Amara surprises them all. Standing before reporters with Zara beside her, she says with quiet determination, "Amara, education is not about privilege. It's about possibility. My students will be there." The crowd erupts. A battle line is drawn, the girl from the slums versus the billionaire businessman. The day of the competition arrives. The venue is grand, with banners, cameras, and a packed audience. The event feels more like a championship final than an academic test. On one side, Desmond's team, children from elite private schools, polished, confident, dressed in sharp uniforms. Their tutors, men and women with PhDs, stand proudly behind them. On the other side, Amara's students, humble, nervous, but determined. They wear mismatched clothes, holding worn notebooks, their eyes fixed on their teacher for reassurance. Amara kneels before them, whispering, "Amara, don't be afraid of who's watching. Just show what you've learned. Remember, you are not less, you are enough." The competition begins. Questions are tough: mathematics, science, literature. The elite students answer quickly, but without spark. Amara's kids take their time, using creativity. One solves a math riddle using a song. Another explains a science concept with a story about fetching water from the well. The crowd murmurs, "This isn't just correct, it's memorable." As the rounds progress, the tide shifts. The underdogs begin outperforming the elites. Desmond shifts uncomfortably in his seat, his smug smile fading. By the final round, it's neck and neck. The entire hall is on edge. The wealthy man's pride versus the slum teacher's passion, everything rests on the last question. And Amara's students are ready. The hall is a pressure cooker. Cameras hum. Pens hover. The scoreboard shows a razor-thin tie. Then the host announces the tiebreaker. Final task: teach the room a complex idea in 2 minutes so a 10-year-old can understand it. Desmond's elite team confers with their tutors, flipping laminated cue cards. Amara's students, Blessing, Ibrahim, and Tund, have only a whiteboard and a marker with a failing tip. Amara leans in, voice barely above a whisper. "Amara, remember why we learn: to help someone else understand. Pick what you live every day." Desmond's side goes first. Their captain delivers a pristine explanation of supply and demand, stringing buzzwords and graphs, immaculate but distant. Polite applause. Blessing steps up for Amara's team. Her hands tremble, then steady. "Blessing, I'll teach compound interest using my mum's Acra business." She draws a small pot on the whiteboard. "If you save 1,000 Nigerian nairas today and it grows by 10% every month, next month you don't add 10% to 1,000 Nigerian nairas, you add 10% to 1,100 Nigerian nairas. Your money begins to grow on top of itself, like balls of dough sticking together." She lifts a real bowl of bean dough she brought from home. "This is one ball. Add another. Then heat makes them puff. That puff is interest on interest." Laughter ripples. Heads nod. The metaphor lands. Ibrahim follows with filtration. He stacks a plastic bottle, sand, charcoal, and cloth. "This is what my area uses when water runs brown." He pours muddy water. It drips clearer into a cup. Science is not far. It lives in our buckets. Tund closes with fractions and fairness. He breaks a loaf into halves and quarters, handing pieces to kids in the crowd. When we say quarter, we're talking equal parts. If one person gets more, it's not a fraction, it's cheating. The audience laughs, claps, and, more importantly, gets it. The host glances at the judges. Something has shifted. These aren't rehearsed textbook recitals. They're lessons rooted in life. A camera catches Desmond's jaw tightening. His eyes flick to Zara in the front row, beaming. "Amara," to her students, "no matter what happens, you made people understand. That's victory." The hall is suddenly quiet, the kind of quiet that precedes a verdict no one can predict. The judges huddle, whispering fiercely. One, an older professor known for brutal standards, raises a hand, then points toward the makeshift filter on the table. Another taps the rubric: clarity, engagement, retention, accuracy. They tally, erase, retally. The host returns to the mic. In accuracy, both teams scored high. A safe start. In clarity, a slight advantage to Team Amara. A stir rolls through the audience. Desmond stiffens. Engagement. The hall leans in. Team Amara, by a wide margin. A murmur becomes a wave. The final category, retention, will decide it. The professor steps forward with cue cards and asks random audience members to explain back what they just learned. A boy in the third row nails Ibrahim's filtration steps. A vendor at the back recounts Blessing's compound interest as money puffing like Akira. Laughter. Applause. The test works. The host lifts the card with trembling theatricality. By a final score of 86 to 83, the winners are Team Amara. The room explodes. Kids leap. Parents cheer. A cameraman yelps as he's nearly hugged to the floor. Blessing cries into Amara's shoulder. Ibrahim raises the dripping filter like a trophy. Tund hands the last piece of bread to a security guard, who grins like a child. Desmond doesn't stand. He claps twice, slow, icy, and drops his hands. The spotlight finds him anyway. A reporter thrusts a mic. Reporter, "Sir, the girl you mocked just beat your elite program. Any comment?" Desmond, "One contest means nothing." But Zara has already slipped past the velvet rope, sprinting into Amara's arms. Flashbulbs freeze the moment, the billionaire's daughter celebrating with the slum teacher. The images will circulate before the night ends. Shareholders will call. PR teams will draft sorry statements. But for now, the sound is pure, children and strangers chanting, "Teach! Teach! Teach!" Amara lifts her hand for silence. Amara, today proves what we always knew, talent is everywhere. Opportunity must be too. Thunderous applause. Somewhere within it, Desmond hears a sound he's not used to, his power being outvoted. The fallout is brutal. A supermarket chain announces it's pausing negotiations with Desmond's company, citing values misalignment. 2 board members urge him to read the room. A competitor posts a congratulatory video to Amara, and watches their own stock tick upward. Desmond's PR team crafts a careful statement. He rejects it. Then he drafts his own and calls a press conference at the Civic Center. Cameras crowd, expecting spin. He steps to the podium, jaw tight, voice steady. "Desmond, I was wrong." The room stills. "I equated wealth with wisdom. I dismissed a teacher because of where she came from. My daughter, the judges, and the public proved me wrong. Ms. Amara, I'm sorry." He doesn't stop there. "I will fund scholarships for 500 low-income students over 5 years, under independent oversight. I will sponsor 10 community learning labs designed by educators, not executives. And I invite Ms. Amara to lead that council. If she declines, these commitments stand anyway." A murmur, part shock, part skepticism. A reporter asks if this is reputation management. Desmond, "If it were, I wouldn't be handing control to the people who embarrassed me." Later, away from cameras, he meets Amara in a small conference room. No entourage. Just Zara and Gozi at the door. "Desmond, I don't ask for friendship. I ask for the chance to repair the damage I did, to my daughter, to you, to children watching me choose class over character." Amara studies him. She's not naive. Money can smother movements as easily as spark them. Amara, conditions. The labs must sit where the need is. Teachers decide the curriculum. Financials are public. No vanity plaques. He nods. Done. She extends her hand. He takes it, briefly, almost gratefully. Outside, the press will spin it 100 ways. Inside, a different truth settles. Accountability, not perfection, can be taught. The first lab opens 2 months later, under the mango tree where Amara began. The whiteboard is new, the laptops refurbished, the shelves bright with markers and dog-eared storybooks. There's a solar panel on the roof and a rain barrel rigged by Ibrahim's uncle. A sign, small, tasteful, reads, "Bright Minds Learning Lab." No names bigger than the mission. NGOs bring internet access. Retired teachers volunteer twice a week. University students lead weekend clubs in robotics, debate, and film. Blessing runs a money puff club, teaching kids to save, giggling as they shout, "Akira interest." Zara becomes a constant presence, sometimes a student, sometimes a helper, always a bridge to a world that once looked down on this one. She introduces a coding hour, showing kids how to animate their names. They, in turn, teach her pigeon jokes and the quickest route to the best puff puff. The council meets monthly in a circle, no head of table. Financials are projected on a wall. Anyone can point and ask. Desmond attends quietly, learning the discipline of silence. Occasionally, he suggests a supplier. More often, he refills paper or fixes a loose hinge, screwdriver in hand, tie off. Amara trains new tutors, how to make science from a bucket, math from a market stall, reading from road signs. She designs simple learning kits, bottles, sand, cloth, measuring cups, and ships them to schools without labs. Videos in Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo follow, because language opens doors money can't find. Media comes and goes, but the heartbeat is local. A parent exhaling because their child reads aloud, a teenager wiring a tiny bulb and whooping when it lights, a chalk-smeared timetable no one dares erase because it finally runs on time. This is what change looks like, not just headlines, but habits. One evening, as the sun bleeds gold, Zara takes Desmond's hand and points at a mother watching her son solve a puzzle. Zara, see that? That's wealth. For once, he doesn't argue. They call it Open Classroom Day. No VIP rows, no ribbon-cutting ceremony, just a wide doorway and a rule that anyone who steps in must ask a question and answer one. Kids pair with aunties, bus drivers with bankers. Laughter stitches the room together. Amara kicks off with a story of her first lesson under this same tree. She holds up the cracked piece of the old chalkboard she kept. Amara, tools change. Purpose doesn't. A hush falls. Then the lessons begin, stations everywhere. At one table, Ibrahim leads water filtration. At another, Zara runs a scratch coding challenge where kids make sprites dance to Afrobeats. Blessing's Money Puff corner is packed. She draws circles and arrows while parents nod thoughtfully, some calculating futures they had once postponed. Near the door, Desmond crouches beside a boy frowning over fractions. Desmond, imagine this bread is for 4 friends. If you cut it into 3 pieces, is it fair? Boy, no, sir. Somebody will cry. Desmond, right. Show me how to cut so no one cries. The boy traces quarters. Desmond smiles, a real one, the kind he didn't know he had. He glances toward Amara. She catches his eye and nods, not forgiveness exactly, but recognition. People can choose to become better. As dusk gathers, the crowd spills outside. A drum circle starts. Someone strings fairy lights between branches. Children chase shadows that look like comets. Amara steps onto a milk crate and raises her voice. Amara, if you learned something today, teach it to someone tomorrow. If you were seen today, see someone tomorrow. That is how we multiply. The chant begins softly, then swells. Multiply. Multiply. It's corny and perfect. Zara squeezes Amara's hand. Thank you, she whispers, for teaching me to learn, and teaching him to listen. Desmond approaches with 2 books, one a ledger, one a worn novel. Desmond, for the lab. The ledger to stay honest. The novel to stay human. Amara takes them. We'll use both. The camera, were this a film, would pull wide, the mango tree crowned in lights, the lab glowing, people of every stripe crossing back and forth between fear and curiosity, ignorance and understanding. Somewhere, a generator coughs to life, then quiets as the solar storage kicks in. The future hums. A final caption writes itself in the night air. True wealth isn't what you stack. It's who stands taller because you showed up. Fade out.